Hello everyone. Today I want to introduce the Spline grammar node group. Uh, if you I if you are already using Unreal Engine PCG graph, you will know what I'm talking about. But for those people who don't use Unreal Engine PCG, what is a Spline grammar? Don't worry, I will explain it to you later. Uh, yeah, go to this Unreal Engine documentation and search for grammar. You'll find this using shape grammar with PCG under this PCG framework. What is a PCG grammar? Well, basically, it will based on your grammar string as this syntax here. This is all the grammar rules, and it will based on this to subdivide the spline segments. Like in this case, this is our original spline, and it will cut the spline based on this module information and your grammar string. Based on this stuff, and it will cut the string, and you can get a new string from it. As you can see, this is our new index, and that's the original one, or you can resample curve. You can see the difference. Okay, so grammar, let's see. It basically has three different types. The first one, the symbols, you can use this comma to separate the different expressions. And then you can type the module information and using the comma to separate the different modules. So this is the first example here. We have A, B, C, D, E. This character string as each module here. And then we type A, comma B, comma E, and so on. We will get this string here. It means place A, and then place B, and then place C. Treat them as individual module. Then we have the random selection. The random selection, you can use curly braces. So for example here, you can use the curly bracket, then it will randomly select one between A or B or C. And you can change the random C to tweaking the effect. And you will notice that this one will extend the whole string because there is a star sample at the end of this module. What is a star sample means? It means if you only have the star sample and nothing else, that will try to repeat place it as long as there is enough remaining space. But first of all, it will try to put that module he know what's the count of it. Means if you have here like repeat 2 and then you will put another C star sample here. It will try to put all these modules that he know how many times he should put it. And then it will try to put this star module. He don't know exactly the count, how many times it will repeat. So it will put all this first, and if you have multiple here, multiple star here, then after he putting all this finite count modules, then it will try to put this infinite count modules. And first of all, it will try to put one of these, and then it will put one of this, and then it will go back to put this C again and put this E again. And if you type star and followed by 2 or followed by arbitrary number, that means this module will be repeat as this number here. For example, here you have star 2. That means this module C will be repeat exactly 2 times. So that is the star module. And the basic rule use comma to separate different modules. And the random selection is the curly braces. So this sentence, it means you will randomly pick one between A or B or C, and place it as long as there are still remaining space. So here the second rule is grouping. You can say square brackets to treat everything inside the brackets as a single group. So here is one. As we can see, here is a star 5. So this module will be repeated 5 times. So here is the first time, second time, third time, fourth time, and fifth time. And each time it will treat everything inside this square bracket as a single group. So in this example, there is A, B, and C. So these three will be treated as a single module. And place them as long as there is repeat them as 5 times. And if you don't have the 5, then it will place this module as long as there is still enough space. And here is the last ABC. And you may notice that there is only A. There is no more BC. So that's because after this node placed the character A, there isn't enough on this spline. As you can see, the spline ended here. There is only a little bit of space for A. So after he placed the A, there is no more space. So the B and C won't be placed. And this is a group selection, a group sentence. Last of all, we have the fallback selection. What is a fallback selection? Well, it will try to place A first. And if there is enough space for placing A, then it will place A. Otherwise, it will try B. And then if B also falls, then it will try C. So how this works, imagine this scenario that you have A as a tree. Okay, let's stop using the A. So for example, your sample is tree. This sample is tree and he has a size of 100 meter. Not 100. 100 of size, let's say. And then you also have a rock. His size is 50. And also a grass, let's say. And this one's size of 5. So you can use this sentence here. So it will first try to select the tree, and then select the rock, then select the grass, and repeat it as long as there is still enough time, enough space. So first of all, it will try to check the tree. So if there are curve, for example, this is our curve, and you already scattered something before, and this remaining length is 130 here. So it will first check the tree. So the tree size is 100, and here 130 is greater than 100. So there is enough space for placing a tree. So first of all, it will place a tree at here. So this is our tree. Then there are only left like 30 here. Then it will check. Then it will do this one again and first check the tree. Here the tree is 100, so there isn't enough space for a tree. Then it will check the rock. The rock size is 50, so there is still enough space. Still have no space for this rock. Last of all, it will check the grass. The grass size is 5, so there is enough space. So it will place a grass, and we have 25 left. And then place the grass again, until there is no more space, like 0. And you may wonder, yeah, what if the size of the grass is 20? So here, originally we left with 30. If the grass size is 20, so first of all, it will place a grass, take 20 space, and then we only left with 10. And you can see the tree, the rock, and the grass all bigger than the 10. So what will this do? Well, because there is still a little bit space along the curve. So if he can't pull the tree, can't pull the rock, or can't pull the grass, then it will just end at the grass, which is the last one inside this angle bracket. So out here, although we only left with 10, but here we still put a grass at the end of the curve. So that's a three different type of the rules. And you can also make more complex string or complex grammars based on these three. For example here, this example here. Yeah. Okay, one thing I forgot to mention is the random selection. Yeah, this one have a additional functionality like you can give the items inside of these curly braces a weight. So here you use the column and followed by a number. That means you give the A module a weight of 3, while the default weight is 1. So here we will see that A module is 3 times more than B module. As we can see, there is a lot of A and a few B's. So this is a weight for each module. This only works inside of the curly braces, which means the random selection. And we can also use a star followed by 10 followed by a count here inside of any arbitrary. You can just use this one to treat it as a module here and put it inside the curly braces or the square bracket or the angle bracket inside of anything you want. It will just treat this part as a single module. As we can see, here means we put 3A and then put 1B and treat them as a whole collection, treat them as a group, and place them as long as there is still enough space. So as we can see, 3A and 1B, 3A, 1B, and it will repeat it until the end of the curve. And here, you can also put the curly braces inside of the square bracket, and or the curly braces, or this one, or the square bracket instead of a curly bracket. As long as you know what you are doing, and you know that makes sense. So you can just combine all the different sentences and put the sentence inside of another bracket. That will all work fine. So here is a bit more advanced setup here. First of all, let's look at the outer signal here. This is a square bracket. That means it will treat the module inside as a single group and place them together. And what's the module inside of this square bracket here? The first one is a curly bracket, and then the second one is another square bracket. And inside of this first module, we will see that the curly braces, it will randomly pick one between A or B. So here is the first item of this big square bracket here. It will randomly pick one between A or B. And the second module is another square bracket. And under the square bracket, first of all, we have a C. So here it will put a C. And there is another, again, a curly braces. And it will randomly pick one between D or E. So here, this one, it will randomly pick one between D or E. You can also make it more complicated by putting some weight inside of these curly braces. But in this example, I just try to keep it simple. So that's this one. So this is the expanded string, and it will try to place this as long as there is still some space. So let's see. Here, first of all, it will pick A, and then place a C and randomly pick one between D or E. Here is E. Next time, it will select A again, and place a C here, and randomly pick one. This again is the E character. And then next time, it randomly pick one. Here, it pick B. And then place a C. And then randomly pick one between D and E again. And this time, A here, and place a C. Then this time, it will select the D character. So that's pretty much all about the grammar here. And this is a grammar string, and under this Spline grammar here, we have a random seed here, which just control the random selection. And yeah, this node group, it also requires a module info. So the module info, you can use this combined bundle here to combine different module info piece here, and combine them as a big bundle here, and then wire this bundle into this node asset. It will extract all these informations from this module info piece and feed it into the Spline grammar node. And here, let's take this one. There is a module info piece where you wire your geometry into here and configure some necessary module informations. The first of all is the module samples here. You need to give each module here a different sample and use and reference it inside the grammar string. So here is A. And the second main setting is spline mesh. What is a spline mesh here? Let's see. The spline mesh means okay, there's something else. Use radius. Input geometry has unsupported type here. And well, there's the unsupported. So mesh, use radius here. Okay. Where is that? Let's say there should place A. Where is the A? Oh, I forgot. Yeah, the size of the cube is 0. So yeah, there we go. Let's say it will randomly pick one between A or B or C here. Okay, that makes sense. Here is a cube, and we can say this one is just a something about a cube. If you don't toggle the spline mesh here, it will just treat this one as a rigid cube. You can see at the corner of the curve. This one isn't smooth. You toggle the spline mesh, it will deform this geometry along the curve and follow the shape, follow the path. Basically, it's just a curve modifier here to deform the geometry. And yeah, that's it. Let's go back to the character 8 here. And we also have a size here. The size is just to control how big, how many space each module will take along the curve. So right now, this one using a bound size, which exactly putting the character A inside of his bounds. But you can also explicitly set the module size here. For example, you want the character A to be size of 1, so it will take 1 meter along the curve here. Also, you can increasing the size. So right now it's taking 2 meters for the character A. And this is a bounce here. And also, there is a use radius for this bounce calculation. What is the bounce calculation here? Because we only instance the curve here. Our module geometry is the curve. So when you calculate the bounding box of it, it will also consider about the curve radius. So if you, for example, set a curve radius here, and you will see all this padding is gone. And you can increasing this one, increasing the curve radius, you can see there will be more space between the character A. The character A will take more space. Let's use the radius. And there is also a scalable here. The scalable means it will scale it a little bit here at the end of the curve. So if we don't enable it, you will see, because here, let's see, for example, the size of the C is 100 here, let's say, but our curve only left something like 70. So there isn't a whole segment here. So you will see the C is a little bit out of the curve, but you can use this option to configure either you want this module to be skewed, which means a little bit shorter than X. So it will skew this along the X-axis instead of the curve. You will see the difference here. You can see the A is a little bit skewed along the local axis. And after that, you will see the same module here is perfectly aligned with the curve end at this line here. If you don't toggle the option here, you will see the C is a little bit outside the curve. You can use this option to configure different modules. For example, you want A to scalable but B not. And C also can be scalable here. So you can configure different module settings. This is very flexible here. Also, we have the panning option. For example, here is a character A. We can give it his forward panning, something like 5. Okay, that's way too big. And give the A 1 meter pannings forward here. So after we're putting a B, putting the A, this is a forward panning here. And after that, it will place another one. Here is again this A. So there is another 100 forward panning here, so on and so forth. This is only skewed x-axis. Okay. So it will only scale along the local x, along this one. You can also set it to scale uniformly. So that will just scale it at the center and scale it uniformly, instead of only scaled along the x-axis. That's the size and the main settings. We also have a orientation here. So here, the forward axis is just the tangent of the curve. And the forward axis, you can see you want this y-axis to be the forward axis, or the axis to be the forward axis to follow the curve tangent. And the x-axis is the geometry orientation. Right now you are setting it to Z. Okay, that one is custom up. Or you can set the curve normal here. If you set the curve normal, then this module will follow the curve normal. So this character A here, the curve normal is there, and your Z-axis of the geometry will be aligned to curve normal here. That's why the A right now is vertically. I can also set the Y to be aligned to it. But this is the Y, let's see. The up axis is X. Okay, that is a little bit wrong, I think. Okay, there is also curve normal here. You can also use custom up here. If you set a custom up, then it will just align. Okay, there is something wrong, seems like. You can just use the z-axis of the geometry to align it to this one, which is the z-axis, the word z-axis. Or you can align it to something else here. For example, we want to align to this 1 by 1 by 1 here. Then it will try to align to this direction. Yeah, but this is a little bit weird, I say. This is the orientation here. Also, we have something called transform here. The first option is center the object here. You can see the curve segment is in here, but our instance is scattered at the center of each segment. If you don't center it, you will see that will be wrong. For example, the B here, it will scatter it here. And, oh, that's the A module here. So where is our center here? If you don't center it, then that would be wrong, because original our geometry is at here. So his pivot is in here. And after that, after we scatter it here, then his pivot is under here. Similarly, after we subdividing here, okay, this is our subdivided curve. Let's join this one here. This is the first pivot. Okay, I think that's scaled here, not scalable here. Okay, that's not what I expected. What I expected, this is start at B here, and then offset half of the instance size, and then at this point it will scatter the B. Here, okay, that makes sense. Okay. Let's say, this is our segment, first segment here. Then this is the original curve point, so it will offset it by half of the segment here, and then instance this module. And the instance module by default is set to center the object here. So this object pivot is gonna be in the center of the object, and then you will instance at the center of the segment, which will be perfectly aligned. But here for the A here, after this point offset by half of the segment, but your A, character A, his pivot is under here, which is the left bottom corner of the character A. So it will instance it, and the pivot is under here. So that's why the A is a little bit offset here. Okay, let's center it here. And you can also set a custom transform for this module here. For example, you want to twist the A here along his local z-axis here. So that will rotate the A along his local z-axis. Also, you can scale his A, or scale his y-axis, the axis, as the transform of this instance. Instead of the local space, you can also achieve it after this instance here. Yeah, but this one just give it the ability to control it inside of the module here. Also, we can control the random transformation here. For example, you want it to randomly transform between -1 and 1 here, that's the axis here. You can see from the top wheel it looks fun, but if you randomly outside the A along the Z-axis here, also you can randomly rotate it, let's say along the axis here. So it will randomly rotate the A along its local x-axis. Okay, so that's pretty much all the settings. So first of all here, we have the geometry, and you can vary it into the module info piece to configure the necessary information, and you use a bundle to combine all this module info here. After that, you will use seasonal group to extract the module info here and wire it into the Spline grammar. Then you use the grammar to control the rules that how you want to distribute the object along your spline here. And that's all. Hope you enjoy it.